get anything until it was needed by the consumer. So you wouldn't make something, for example, you wouldn't make something for Christmas in July because no one's buying something for Christmas in July. You wouldn't make it until December. So it's kind of like that. It was hard for me to understand when I first heard it because you always think of inventory as a good thing. You want to have extra parts just in case. But in lean terms, it's a bad thing to have extra things that you've paid for that aren't being used. Jidoka, which means built-in quality, it's just a way of error-proofing visual control. A lot of it is quality management, making sure that things are correct before it goes to the consumer, because as you can see, when things are incorrect, there are obviously problems. Like I said, with the problem over the summer, it was a really big mistake. It cost a lot of money to go out and fix it. They had to go to another country to go and fix all of them that were out on the line. It's just a lot of money and a lot of time. It's obviously a lot of waste, because then you have to reproduce all the things you already produced. You're not getting paid for it again. So you want to make sure quality should be the biggest thing. As you can see, Jidoka probably isn't a term you've ever heard before. That's because it's Japanese, and a lot of lean terms are Japanese, and that's because it's based off of Toyota. Toyota was the one who first did a lot of lean practices, and we actually base most of lean off of the Toyota system. And that's because automotive manufacturing is probably the best manufacturing there is, because when you think about it, the car it's the most intricate thing to make. You can literally pick and choose what you want in a car. So they have to be able to do that at a moment's notice. You don't get a car in 2 months from when you order it. You get it usually a couple weeks later. So they have such a good system of doing that you can hand pick what you want, and it's to your house within a few weeks. So that's why a lot of these systems are based off of the Toyota approach. And as you can see, the top part says best quality, lowest cost, shortest lead time. And lead time is probably not something you've heard of before. Lead time just means that you want something from when you order it to when you start producing it. So in a perfect world, right when someone clicks order, you would start making it. But obviously you have planning, and you have costs, and you have getting inventory. So you want to shorten the lead time. So you want to be able to have a person order it and get it to them as quickly as possible. So by doing all of this, you will hopefully shorten that time, get the lowest cost and the best quality for your consumer. So these are just some lean terms that have been used a lot in lean, and you're going to hear them even in places you might have even heard of these already. The lean sensei terms are just students within lean. It's senpai, sensei, and shihan. The lean definitions are the ones that you're really going to see a lot in industry. These are ones that I honestly never took a lean class in my life, but I've heard all of these throughout the summer. It's something that no matter where you go, you're going to hear them. 5S is workplace organization, and that's just having things organized, because if things are organized, then it's obviously easier to see where things are and then put things together. Visual factory is use of controls that enable an individual to immediately recognize the standard and any deviation from it. So you want a visual of what the perfect is, so that if there is something that's not perfect, it's taken off the line right away and not put to the to the consumer. Error proofing is, everyone knows error proofing. You want to make sure there are no mistakes. Standardized work, I already talked about before, and it is just the best method to complete the work that's in progress, because by standardizing the work, you'll decrease any form of mistakes, hopefully. There's always going to be some human error, but hopefully by standardizing work, there's going to be less error than there might have been. Value add, as I said, we'll talk about more later. That's just activities which add form or function to the product. Like I said before, management, engineering, any of those types of people, anyone in upper level management are not value added. It's only the operators and the people who actually move the product that add any value to a product. The pull manufacturing or just in time, I spoke about that, was on one of the columns. It's the concept of producing the necessary units in the necessary quantities at the necessary time, described by just in time. So it's the whole push-pull. You only want it when it's needed. You don't want to buy it. You don't want extra inventory. Kanban, another Japanese word. It means a signal, usually a card, used to signal the movement or production of materials. So we call this in our plant, and a lot of different plants call this a water spider. And this is the term used for someone who gives a person materials, because you don't want your workers moving from their spot, because obviously moving from your spot to get a part or to get something needed wastes a lot of time. And by having someone who will fill up for example, you have usually buckets in front of you to put something together. You want someone who's going to fill those up without you having to go do it yourself. So you have a designated person, usually called a water spider, that goes around and they refill them for all of the operators so that nobody has to leave their spot in order to continue producing. And this is something that I've done a lot with this summer. It was one of my other projects. We did a 3P, which I don't believe is mentioned on here, but it's another lean thing that has to do with putting machines in a place that is beneficial to the best type of production. So obviously, if something has 3 parts to it, you want it to be 1, 2, 3. You don't want it to be 1, 3, 2, or 3, 1, 2. You want it to go right in order. And you want it to be close together. You want it to be around the same time, so when you pass it over, the next person starts and passes it over, and so on and so forth, and it is a perfect type of system, so you get the most amount of parts done in the least amount of time. And they didn't have a Kanban system. They had a system where people would have to go and get their own type of materials. And because of this, I had to do a study on how much extra time they were putting in, the operators, by just walking around to get materials. And what I actually found out from it, which was a little scary, was that in a year, they were just walking, not doing anything else. They were doing 6 days worth of walking, like 6 full 8-hour days, not doing anything else, just walking. So obviously, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of money, that's a lot of product, especially if one part can be made in 5 minutes, and each part is $50 to $100. It adds up very quickly. I mean, that's, 48 hours? So it's amazing how people don't do this, but it makes sense. So this is just one of those things that people don't do. People don't have a Kanban system. A lot of companies don't. But it is something that it racks up after a while if you don't have people that are designated to put the parts in the right spot. Kitting is collecting the number of parts needed to produce a specific amount of product. And that's just the system of, instead of getting it from the